This video is one in a set focusing on lifting and rigging practices. When things go wrong, if the load moves, the rigging slips, or the chain breaks, you or your workmates could be seriously hurt or killed. In this video, we're exploring why a load might move by looking at the idea of the center of gravity. Any object lifted by a crane has a theoretical position known as its center of gravity. In fact, all objects have a center of gravity, not just those lifted by a crane. Think of the center of gravity as the point where the weight of an object is concentrated and acts under gravity. Its position can affect the object's balance and how it moves and turns. It's vital for riggers and crane operators to be aware of the position of the center of gravity in every load they are rigging or lifting. It's not always in the obvious spot, and making assumptions can lead to serious accidents. When using a crane, the hook should line up directly over the load's center of gravity for maximum stability. If an object has a symmetric shape and uniform composition, it's fairly easy to work out where the center of gravity is. At our testing facility, we have a length of steel. Its center of gravity is halfway along its length. So, if we wanted to lift it with a crane, we'd align the hook in the middle and lift. Perfect. The steel beam has remained horizontal and didn't swing about once it left the ground. Let's try another beam. Again, we'd guess that the center of gravity is in the middle. We attach our sling and... whoa. What went wrong there? What we didn't take into account were these weights sitting inside the beam on the right-hand side. The extra weight has shifted the position of the beam's center of gravity towards the heavier end. So, all we have to do is align our hook over the new center of gravity and... yes, the load can be lifted no problem. Things get trickier, however, when working in 3 dimensions. Our computer simulation shows a load for a crane with a 4-leg chain configuration. Let's see, a rectangular plate with 2 evenly sized boxes at each end. The axis of the center of gravity must be through the center of the plate, right? Apparently not. The computer simulation is registering a failed lift. Once again, the mistake we made was to assume that both boxes weigh the same amount. Sure, they look the same, but just because they look the same doesn't mean they weigh the same. This box is empty, but this box carries a weight of 100 kilograms. These unequal boxes have influenced the position of the load's center of gravity. The simulation tells us that it's not above the center of the plate at all, but over here. So, the 4 chains must be adjusted in length so that the hook is directly over this point. Let's run the simulator again to confirm. And yes, job well done. Finding a load's center of gravity gets even more complex when the contents of the load have the potential to move about. Even if everything is tied down securely, some loads still contain an unrecognized hazard. Liquid. A liquid cargo can shift within its container, and when that happens, the position of the center of gravity moves with it. A small error at the rigging stage potentially creates an avalanche effect of failure. At the testing facility, we're going to demonstrate how a fluid load can unbalance a lift. Similar to our computer simulation, we've got a rectangular plate carrying 2 uneven boxes. Below that, a tank of water. We'll position the hook over the center of the plate and attach 4 slings. Each sling has a load cell to indicate the load level it's under while the load is being lifted. Ideally, the readouts will be stable. If they are changing, It's an indication that the centre of gravity is moving. Let's see what happens. Splash! Not only did the load tip, but once the water sloshed to one side, the centre of gravity shifted even further, unbalancing the lift. Just imagine the dangers of incorrectly lifting a generator with a 3/4 full tank of fuel on a worksite. The consequences could be serious. Looking back at the load cell readouts, you can see that the load experienced by each sling was changing, meaning the load had a moving centre of gravity. In order to safely lift this load, we need to take time to find the actual centre of gravity. Using the shape and the weight distribution, we have determined the centre of gravity is here. By swapping slings for chains, we can easily adjust our rig to position the hook directly over that point. Will it make a difference? Absolutely! Despite the load's uneven distribution of weight, it remains perfectly level. Even the water in the tank is still. You'll notice that the load cell readouts are stable, so each sling is bearing a consistent load. You can't see an object's centre of gravity, but it's there, and its effect on a load can't be ignored. Understanding its importance could save you or one of your workmates from serious injury or death. So never guess the location of a load's centre of gravity, or assume you know where it is from previous lifts. Treat every object as an unknown and take the time to work out exactly how it should be lifted. After all, everyone wants to go home safe from work.